you ever wonder what the most expensive card is for every Galar Pokemon? Well, you have come to the right place, as that is exactly what we are talking about today. Starting with Grookey, where we have one of the most British cards out there, the Grookey on the Ball promo. One of very few Pokemon to have a promotional card exclusive to the United Kingdom. This on the Ball promo was handed out to customers who spent £15 or more at participating game stores, essentially the UK's version of GameStop or EB Games. This promotion was meant to promote the FA and youth football within the UK, but unfortunately, due to the pandemic, these promos were a little bit hard to get your hands on. This Grookey card sells today for up to $40. The Grookey line does actually have some pretty cool cards in its roster, as up next we have the Scarlet and Violet Staff pre-release for Twilight Masquerade. Twilight Masquerade is one of my favourite sets out there for the Scarlet and Violet era, and this Staff pre-release sells today for $25. And then we have the final Grass Monkey in this line with Rillaboom, who has yet another Staff pre-release card. This Rillaboom card was handed out at pre-release events for the beginning of the 8th generation of the TCG. This Sword and Shield Staff promo sells today for up to $100. For Scorbunny, we are once again going back to the On the Ball promos. These promos are honestly so cool, and one day I do hope to own them all. The Scorbunny On the Ball promo sells today for up to $50. And for Raboot, we have our first art rare for the video. I do kind of wish that the Cinderace EX found in Stellar Crown had gotten an SIR version. I think giving it to Cinderace would have made that set much better. Thankfully though, we would get the really cool art rare with Raboot, with this card that sells for $6. Now I know I spent a lot of this section on Raboot talking about Cinderace, but this is by far one of my favourite starters to date. I love the whole football striker, fiery personality design that they had going for Cinderace, and it works really well. The most expensive Cinderace is the Cinderace VMAX Rainbow Rare found within Rebel Clash, which sells for $16. And then with Sobble, we have our final On the Ball promotional card for the starter Pokemon. This Sobble Goalkeeper card is honestly really fun. This Sobble card sells today for up to $40. I have said countless times on this channel and will say countless more, I really do not like Drizzile and Inteleon. I think there was so much potential with Sobble that was just done so badly with Drizzile. The most expensive Drizzile card is the Shining Fate Shiny Holo Rare Drizzile, which sells for $3. Despite having an alternate art card found with Infusion Strike, the most expensive Inteleon card is actually pretty disappointing. I would love to say that this card is the most expensive, but in reality, the most expensive Inteleon card is the Inteleon Mega Evolution Staff promotional pre-release card, which sells for $35. If you guys do enjoy this video, make sure you subscribe, as it really does help out the channel. Let's get back into the cards. Starting with one of the cutest Pokemon introduced in Galar, Skwovet. Initially, I was not a huge fan of Skwovet. However, using one in Scarlet and Violet really changed my perspective on this Pokemon. It is just such a fun and cute rodent Pokemon. The most expensive Skwovet card is the Scarlet and Violet Art Rare, which sells for $5. I always assumed that Greedent wasn't that popular of a Pokemon within the TCG. However, I am completely wrong, as Greedent has received a lot of Pokemon cards. Greedent would receive 3 different V cards across 3 sets, an alternate art with Infusion Strike, and even an art rare within Destined Rivals. And that doesn't even mention the Rainbow VMAX or the Terra Normal Greedent EX from Obsidian Flames. Greedent gets so much love from the TCG designers. However, the most expensive of these is the alternate art Greedent V, which sells for $11. Scarlet and Violet was really good for Generation 8 Pokemon. Because a big part of Generation 8 was separated into Sinnoh-based sets, we didn't have a lot of time for Generation 8 Pokemon. And so Scarlet and Violet decided to make an effort to give some Pokemon from Gen 8 some love, like Rookidee. The most expensive Rookidee is the art rare found within Paldea Evolved, which sells for $8. And then for Corvisquire, we are once again heading back to Shining Fates, with the shiny Corvisquire found there. This card isn't too expensive, selling for $2. Corviknight has a lot of amazing cards to pull from for the most expensive one, with various Trainer Gallery cards from Silver Tempest or a Rainbow VMAX from Battle Styles. There are a lot of options. However, the most expensive of all of these cards is the Corviknight VMAX Prize Pack Series card. This card sells today for $70. Thankfully, compared to Alola, there are a lot less 50-cent cards. Even Pokemon like Blipbug have cards that are over $1. With Blipbug, we have the shiny Blipbug found in Shining Fates, which sells for $2. And for Dottler, we have an art rare card that I never knew existed. The big issue that Scarlet and Violet faces is there are just so many art cards within these sets, and this has meant that, at least for me, I would never have seen the Dottler card. This Dottler art rare from Paradox Rift sells today for $3. And from one art card to another, up next we have Orbeetle. The Trainer Gallery sub-series across the latest sets of Sword and Shield did an amazing job at combining iconic trainers as well as new Pokemon. The Lost Origin Trainer Gallery was in particular one of the best. This Trainer Gallery gives us the most expensive Orbeetle card, which sells for $7. With Nickit, we are once again heading back to Shining Fates, where we have this shiny Nickit card, which sells for $2. One of my favorite new artists within the TCG is NC Empire. This artist keeps coming up with these insane comic style designs for some full art cards. Pokemon like Loudred and Spidops have already received cards from this designer. However, my personal favorite is the Feeble card from this artist, found in the Crown Zenith Galarian Gallery. This card sells today for $2. And then we have Gossifleur, where we are back to Shining Fates with the Gossifleur Shiny, which sells for $2. For Eldegoss, we have a Prize Pack Series card. This card was originally found in Rebel Clash before being added to the Prize Pack Series. This card sells today for $35. $5. Wooloo is one of the best Pokemon ever added to the games, is what a lot of people say. I personally do really like the design for Wooloo, but I can understand why some people say it's a little bit basic. At the end of the day, this is just a sheep, but for some people like me, that is enough. The most expensive Wooloo is the Hops Wooloo Art Rare found in Journey Together, which sells for $5. For double, we have yet another exclusive product, except this time it was exclusive to Best Buy. This is the Hops Double stamped Journey Together card. For some reason, Pokemon decided that this would be an excellent promotional card for Best Buy, and only Best Buy, which seems a little bit weird to me. This double card sells today for $5. And then for Chewtle, we once again have the shiny found in Shining Fates, which sells for $2. But now we have our first Champion's Path card for the video. This set was atrocious, and I really do not rank it very highly within the history of the TCG. There was one chase card within this entire set, and the pull rates were abysmal. The most expensive Dreadnought card is the Dreadnought VMAX Rainbow card found in Champion's Path, which sells for $6. Yamper quickly became a huge fan favorite Pokemon within the world of Pokemon. It's just an adorable little electric type corgi. The most expensive Yamper is the card from Shining Fates, which sells for $8. Boltund has a lot of good cards. This Trainer Gallery card was a sick addition to Brilliant Stars, but unfortunately this is not the most expensive Boltund card. Instead, the most expensive Boltund card is the Prize Pack card, which sells for $50. Rolycoly is certainly one of the more underwhelming Pokemon within Generation 8. I'm not saying the Rolycoly line is bad, but this Pokemon at the end of the day is just a rock. The most expensive Rolycoly is the Rolycoly Shiny card from Shining Fates for $2. And then for Carkol, we are staying within Shining Fates with this shiny Carkol, which sells for $2. And then we have Coalossal, who I do actually really like. I used a Coalossal in Scarlet and Violet, and it was one of my favorite Pokemon to use. The most expensive Coalossal card is the Rebel Clash Staff pre-release card, which sells for $20. I love how Applin is very quickly becoming the new Eevee. This little apple now has 3 split evolutions, and one of them is a 3-stage evolution line, which is kind of crazy. The most expensive Applin card is the Twilight Masquerade Art Rare, which sells for $6. Rebel Clash would also give us the most expensive card for Flapple, with yet another Staff pre-release card. This Staff pre-release Flapple card sells today for $55. Unfortunately, compared to Flapple, Appleton does not do quite as well. The most expensive Appleton card is the shiny one found in Shining Fates, which sells for $4. Shining Fates also gives us the most expensive card for Silly Cobra, with this card which sells for $2. I love Sandaconda. I like Sandaconda so much that I bought a graded VMAX version of this card. Not the rainbow version or anything, just a regular Sandaconda VMAX. This is one of my favorite Gmax Pokemon within the game. The most expensive Sandaconda card is the EB Games exclusive stamped Sandaconda, which sells for $25. And things now make a huge jump, as next we have Cramorant. If you guys watched my weirdest official cards video, you will know exactly what card we have coming up for Cramorant. The Pokemon Stamp Box promotional release for Cramorant. In Japan back in August of 2021, you could purchase the Pokemon Stamp Box from participating post office or the Japanese Post Service website. By doing this, you will be able to find the Cramorant card based on the wild geese flying under the full moon painting by Utagawa Hiroshige. This painting was first used on Japanese stamps back in 1949 and pays homage to that legacy left by Hiroshige. This card sells today for $300. For Arrokuda, we have the shiny Arrokuda from Shining Fates, which sells for $2. And I am fairly certain that this is our only full evolutionary line so far with exclusively shiny cards. As for Barrascuda, we also have the shiny from Shining Fates, which sells for $2. Toxel and Toxtricity are 2 of the best Pokemon within Galar, and have arguably the coolest typing ever with Poison and Electric. The most expensive Toxel is the shiny Toxel found in Shining Fates, which sells for $3. This is also the same price as the shiny Toxel found within Paldean Fates as well, which also sells for $3. As for Toxtricity, we once again have a Staff pre-release card that was created to coincide with the release of Phantasmal Flames. This promotional card sells today for $40. With Sizzlipede, we once again have a shiny found in Shining Fates, which sells for $2. And then we have Centiskorch. Introducing another bug and fire type, given how popular Volcarona is, was definitely a difficult decision for Pokemon. I imagine they had countless designs for this Pokemon, trying desperately to ensure that it carried the bug and fire mantle on from Volcarona, and I think they did a really good job. The most expensive Centiskorch is the Rainbow VMAX found in Darkness Ablaze for $7. Then for Clobbopus, we have a real standout card. Throughout Scarlet and Violet, Pokemon have changed the way they design Pokemon cards. They have started to introduce newer design principles and methods that have led to some awesome cards, such as the most expensive card for Clobbopus, with this art rare from Surging Sparks, which sells for $5. Grapploct is one of my favorite new shinies within Sword and Shield. This red and white design works so well. The most expensive Grapploct is the shiny from Shining Fates, which sells for $2. I would not be a good British person if I did not love Sinistea. When you're making a region based on Britain, you have to include a Pokemon based on tea, and Sinistea was such a clever idea for this concept. The most expensive Sinistea is the Shining Fate Sinistea, which sells for $3. For Poltegeist, we have a Jumbo card as the most expensive. This promotional Poltegeist card could be found in the Poltegeist V-Box alongside Rebel Clash. This Jumbo card sells today for $6. With Hattrem, we are returning returning to Shining Fates with this shiny Hattrem card, which sells for $2. And Shining Fates also gives us the most expensive card for Hattrem, with the shiny Hattrem, which sells for $3. Hattrem would also get a lot of love within the TCG, especially during Crown Zenith. Crown Zenith finally gave us Hattrem's Gigantamax form after years of waiting for it to get added. The most expensive Hattrem is the Galarian Gallery VMAX card, which sells for $7. However, we won't get very far from Shining Fates, as up next we have the Impidimp, with one of the best shiny Pokemon of all time. This Impidimp card sells for $2. This is also the case for Morgrem, with this shiny Morgrem, which sells for $2. And we're going 3 for 3 with this evolutionary line, as up next we have got the shiny Grimmsnarl VMAX found within Shining Fates. I've made an effort to get a shiny Grimmsnarl in both Sword and Shield and Scarlet and Violet because of how cool this shiny actually is. This card sells today for $5. And now we are in the new evolution section of the video, the part of Galar where older Pokemon receive new additions to their regional forms, starting with Obstagoon, where we have our first gold card for this video. The most expensive Obstagoon is the shiny gold card found in Vivid Voltage, which sells for $5. And then we have the new addition to the Meowth line with Berserker. I actually really like Berserker. I don't know why this Pokemon just works so well. Galarian Berserker has received a couple of great cards like the gold shiny from Rebel Clash, or the alternate art from Lost Origin. However, the most expensive of these is the Sword and Shield Staff pre-release, which sells for $70. Cursula really does deserve a little bit better within the TCG. I really think the concept of Cursula works so well. The whole oceans dying and dead coral difference between regular Cursula and Galarian Cursula is a real omen for what will one day be our reality. This is, in my opinion, one of the best Pokemon in Galar when it comes to theming. One day Cursula will get an art rare, but for now the most expensive Cursula is the shiny from Shining Fates, which sells for $2. Sirfetch'd is yet another evolution that was needed. Transforming Farfetch'd into this fighting type bird was a really fun decision, and Sirfetch'd just made this Pokemon all the more memorable. Plus, its evolution method was really fun and made for an interesting challenge or maybe puzzle to get this Pokemon. The most expensive Sirfetch'd is the Galarian Sirfetch'd V Full Art, which sells for $2. These really are some of the best Pokemon in Galar, as up next we have the Galarian evolution for Mr. Mime, Mr. Rhyme. What a clever concept. Giving us the Fat Controller as a Pokemon was really clever, and making it an Ice type was certainly a choice. I don't really understand why it was an Ice type. I think the normal typing would have worked way better for Mr. Rhyme, but I can get behind it. The most expensive Mr. Rhyme is the League promo Thank You Mr. Rhyme Reverse Holo, which sells for $5. And then we have Runerigus, which was a pretty interesting choice for a regional evolution. I like Runerigus and this sort of like medieval wreck feel behind it. The most expensive Runerigus is the shiny Runerigus, which sells for $4, which brings our new evolutions to a close. Back to the regular Galarian Pokemon. The most expensive card for Milcery is the Stellar Crown Art Rare, which sells for $9. And then for Alcremie, we have yet another prize pack series card, with the Alcremie VMAX originally found in Champion's Path. This prize pack card sells for $40. Can you guys let me know down below how you feel about the new Falinks Mega Evolution? I personally really like it, but some of my friends do not, which feels weird to me. The most expensive Falinks is the Falinks V Full Art from Rebel Clash, which sells for $3. For Pincurchin, we have the shiny Pincurchin found in Shining Fates, which sells for $3. I love Snom, and clearly lots of other people do too. Something about this little bug and ice type is really cool and appealing to fans, as a lot of people have lost their minds over this little guy. The most expensive Snom card is the Temporal Forces Art Rare Snom, which sells for $9. As for Frostmoth, we once again have a Sword and Shield base staff pre-release. This Frostmoth card is a little bit basic, but the staff stamp helps make it much cooler. The Frostmoth sells today for $75. With Stonjourner, we're staying in Sword and Shield base with a Rainbow VMAX card for the Stonehenge Pokemon. This is a really cool card that sells for $9. Despite having a special illustration rare, Ice-Cube's most expensive card is actually a different art rare. Ice-Cube has been getting a lot of really cool cards within the TCG. The previously mentioned SIR is one that definitely comes to mind. However, I have to agree with the most expensive card being this art rare from Paldea Evolved. This card is really cool. Do you get it? Because he's an ice type. This art rare card sells today for $15. For Indeedee, we once again have a staff pre-release card. This Indeedee card was handed out at pre-release events for the release of Surging Sparks. This Indeedee card sells today for $25. And finally, we have the Generation 8 Pika clone, Morpeko. Morpeko is a really fun Pika clone, and its most expensive card is really interesting. This is the Marnie's Morpeko art rare card. This card could be found within the Marnie Rival Battle Deck. These battle decks have unfortunately become really expensive recently. This Marnie's Morpeko sells today for $30. I love Qfan. It's just a cute little elephant. The most expensive Qfan is the art rare found within Shrouded Fable, which sells for $10. And then for our final non-special Pokemon, we have Copperaja. I do like that the region based on Britain incorporated elephants as well, and historical references to the British Empire. This Copperaja Gigantamax card is really fun and sells today for $7. Up next, we have Dracozolt, who had a surprisingly big part within the Evolving Skies expansion that a lot of people likely don't remember. I speak about Evolving Skies quite a lot on this channel, and one thing I always say about Evolving Skies is I reckon most people cannot name name the cards outside of Moonbreon or Rayquaza. One of these cards is the Dracozolt VMAX, which had such a big role within this set, even getting a rainbow rare version. This card sells today for $7. The most expensive Arctozolt is the staff pre-release Arctozolt introduced for Darkness Ablaze. This card has become pretty expensive, selling for $45. I love Dracovish, and its position within Ash's team in the Journeys anime definitely helped make it the most popular fossil from Generation 8. However, even outside of that, Dracovish is a pretty powerful Pokemon. Its signature attack, Vicious Rend, is really good. The most expensive Dracovish is the shiny card found in Shining Fates. This card sells today for $4. I almost always forget that Arctovish actually exists. I never got to use this Pokemon, and so it kind of just fell through the cracks a little bit for me. Plus, being a water and ice type, it definitely has the most boring typing out of the rest of them. The most expensive Arctovish card is the shiny found within Shining Fates, which sells for $1.50. Much like earlier with Dracozolt, I feel like Duraludon has slowly faded from being a chase card in Evolving Skies. For a while, the Duraludon found in this set was pretty good in the TCG, but as it rotated out of legal play, people have begun to leave this Pokemon behind. The most expensive Duraludon card is the Duraludon V alternate art from Evolving Skies, which sells for $20. I really thought Dreepy would have gotten an art rare card by now within Scarlet and Violet. Dragapult EX has become one of the best decks in the meta for quite a while now, and Dreepy and Dracloak are equally important within those decks. The most expensive Dreepy is the shiny Dreepy from Shining Fates, which sells for $5. With Dracloak, we also have the shiny found within Shining Fates, which also sells for $3. And that means we can finish our final non-legendary Pokemon for Galar with Dragapult, where we have the special illustration rare Dragapult found within Prismatic Evolutions. This card is such a great design, nowadays selling for $90. Which brings us to the legendary Pokemon, starting with a banger with Zacian. Zacian has a real plethora of amazing cards. Cards like the gold cards from Sword and Shield base, as well as the promotional version. The Trainer Gallery cards from both Astral Radiance and Crown Zenith. The art rare found in Phantasmal Flames, and of course the special illustration rare for Hop Zacian from Journey Together. However, despite all of these amazing cards, the most expensive card is a prize pack series card for Zacian V, which sells for $75. Compared to Zacian, Zamazenta has done considerably worse within the TCG. It would also receive 2 gold cards, as well as the 2 Trainer Gallery cards. However, it has fallen behind in recent sets as well as within the TCG meta. Zamazenta never really saw any usage. Most expensive Zamazenta card is yet another prize pack card, which sells for $20. And then we have Eternatus, where we have another prize pack card. This is the Eternatus VMAX prize pack card, which has become insanely expensive recently. For a while, this card was pretty playable, and so some fans like collecting these prize pack cards to remember these times in the meta. This Eternatus sells today for $70. Kubfu has only ever received 1 card within the TCG. The most expensive Kubfu is the only Kubfu card found in Chilling Reign, which sells for 10 cents. Urshifu has had such an amazing time in the TCG, getting rainbow cards, alternate arts, trainer gallery cards, and even gold cards. There are more special Urshifu cards than cards from most legendaries. Urshifu would receive 20 special cards compared to only 2 regular cards. The most expensive Rapid Strike Urshifu is the alternate art Urshifu VMAX found within Battle Styles, which sells for $70. Unfortunately, Single Strike Urshifu does not get quite as expensive. This is pretty much just a redesign and recolor of the regular VMAX card, so it just doesn't hit that well. This Single Strike Urshifu VMAX sells for $35. Despite being the only mythical Pokemon in Sword and Shield, Zarude has not done amazingly within the TCG. When it comes to regular cards, the most expensive Zarude is just the Zarude V full art from Vivid Voltage. However, there is another Zarude card found exclusively in Korea, with this Secrets of the Jungle stamped Zarude that was handed out to viewers of the Zarude movie in movie theaters. This card sells today for $35. Regi is one of my favorite legendaries from the modern era of Pokemon. I love the light bulb design as well as some of the competitive strategies people came up with in singles for this Pokemon. The most expensive Regieleki card is the Rainbow Regieleki VMAX, which sells for $8. Regidrago is arguably the best V-Star Pokemon card ever created. It would take a little while for Pokemon fans to really figure out how to use this Pokemon, but when they did, it became a monster. We do have a video coming out later this week all about the V-Star card, so make sure you subscribe so you don't miss it. The most expensive Regidrago card is not the V-Star, but rather the alternate art V from Silver Tempers for $20. Glastrier is about to make a comeback to the TCG thanks to its inclusion within the Japanese Mega Dream EX set, which is a huge relief as it has only appeared in 1 set so far with only 1 card. The most expensive Glastrier is the Lost Origin card for $1. Spectra is also about to make a comeback to the TCG within whatever set we get that adapts it from Mega Dream EX. For now though, the most expensive Spectra is the Lost Origin card for $1. And that brings us to Calyrex, where much like Urshifu, we're going to have to talk about a lot of cards. The most expensive regular Calyrex is the only Calyrex without its horses. This Calyrex from Crown Zenith sells for 50 cents. As I said, there are a lot of cards for Calyrex in both its steed forms. The most expensive cards of all of these, however, are the Chilling Reign alternate art cards for both Calyrex forms. The Ice Rider Calyrex VMAX alternate art sells for $40. Meanwhile, the Shadow Rider Calyrex VMAX alternate art card, designed by Mitsuhiro breeder, sells for $80. And so we are done with Galar, but not with Generation 8, as we do have a couple of Hisuian Pokemon to introduce to our list, such as Weirdere. The most expensive Weirdere is the Full Art Weirdere V found within Astral Radiance for $2. I think Kleavor was a very clever past evolution for Scyther, since the whole metal thing was evidently not possible in the olden days. Despite Pokemon like Onix still being capable of evolution, this Kleavor evolution makes sense if you just don't look into it too much. The most expensive Kleavor is the Rainbow V-Star from Astral Radiance, which sells for $8. And then we have Ursaluna, arguably the best new evolution for a previous Pokemon. We will not be talking about Blood Moon Ursaluna here, as that is considered closer to a Paradox Pokemon than another form. The most expensive Ursaluna is the Ursaluna V found within Silver Tempest for $1. Then we have a stinker with Basculegion. Not all of these Pokemon could receive special cards, however this one is stamped. The most expensive Basculegion is the Astral Radiance stamped Basculegion, which sells for $1. I really like Hisuian Sneasler. I think trying to live up to the legacy set by Weavile is no easy task for any Pokemon, and I think Hisuian Sneasler really does this really well. The most expensive Sneasler card is the Astral Radiance alternate art, which sells for $25. For Overquill, we have another card for less than $1, with the Hisuian Overquill rare card found in Astral Radiance. This card sells for 20 cents. And finally, we have Enamorus, probably the worst legendary in all of Generation 8. God, I hate this Pokemon. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe and check out my V-Star video when that comes out later this week. The most expensive card for Enamorus is the Enamorus V Trainer Gallery card from Lost Origin, which sells for $9.